All right. Hey guys, and welcome to this episode this week. Today I want to talk about the idea of discomfort and experiencing uncomfortable emotions because I feel like one of the things that holds people back in their recovery from OCD and anxiety and stress related struggles is our unwillingness to experience discomfort, experience uncomfortable emotions and feelings. And when it comes to recovery, that is just part of the process. And so I want to just talk about the idea today of choosing the path of discomfort that you're willing to experience. Because no matter what on this road to recovery, there's going to be discomfort. You're going to experience uncomfortable emotions. It's unavoidable. It's part of the process. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Matt Cotty, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker and the founder of Restored Minds. And I'm also the creator of the AAA Response. And the reason that I want to talk about this today is because I feel like that what a lot of people do, and I know I did this too on my own journey, is we secretly look for that path that doesn't have any discomfort. Like we hear this and we know what we're supposed to do, and we know the big picture of facing fear and how that's uncomfortable. But then what we do is we say, I know that everyone else is supposed to do that, but I want to figure out this other path. I want to figure out the path that doesn't have any problems on it, any resistance, any uncomfortable feelings. And it's just our natural instinct as humans to avoid pain and pursue pleasure. That is just an inherent instinct that we follow, right? And the problem is that by doing that, we prolong our recovery, right? We actually avoid recovery by going that route. And I remember that I took a long time trying to find that path. I took a long time. Hey, you know what? I'm gonna. It's like I envision this idea. Maybe this visual will help you. That there's this cave, right? That I know I'm supposed to go through, right? And I know I need to get to the other side of the cave. But let's pretend I'm afraid of going into caves, right? And so what I do is I try to walk around the whole island trying to find a path that's anything but the cave, right? And that's why in Joseph Campbell's hero's journey framework, one of my favorite quotes from him is, the cave you least want to enter, or you're most afraid to enter, holds the treasure you seek. And I'm probably butchering that quote a little bit, but the idea is that the pain that you don't want to experience is the key to getting better, you know, like that. And that's why I want to talk about this idea of choosing which discomfort or which uncomfortable feelings you're going to experience. Because you have to understand that OCD and anxiety recovery is not a choice of not experiencing discomfort. There is no path where you're not going to have these uncomfortable emotions. The question is how are you going to experience it? Which emotions are you willing to face, right? It's a red pill or a blue pill option. Most of us are looking for the green pill that doesn't exist, right? Because we know that being stuck in the OCD and anxiety loop is wildly uncomfortable, right? It's extreme stress. And the thing is that if we seek out that pleasurable path that doesn't have any pain, doesn't have any discomfort, doesn't have any emotions we don't like, that will paradoxically do is keep us stuck in the loop. And in my experience, that's way more uncomfortable and way more pain and way more suffering than the process of actually going through exposure correctly, which is a temporary suffering to get you a longer term result, right? Of actual recovery and really calming down your nervous system, rewiring the brain through that process. And this is the path that we have in front of us. We can choose to try to find a route that, essentially no one's ever found, and try to find this secret way of getting better. And I know a lot of people do this through different drugs and you just various ways, that they try to go about healing their OCD and anxiety when it comes to not trying to face fear, right? So there's this avoidance of, I don't want to actually face my fears. And the problem is that keeps us stuck, and that actually prolongs our suffering. By not doing this process, you're going to continue the suffering of being in the loop. And for anyone that's been in that loop and knows what I'm talking about, like, that's a suffering I wouldn't wish upon anyone. Whereas when we choose to go the route of exposure and really facing our fears head on, there is a temporary suffering that we're going to endure there. These emotions really are going to come up. We really are going to have to face that feeling within us. But by doing it correctly, it leads to a longer term recovery. In a longer like in the long term, we heal. And the question is, and the only question that you really have to answer on this journey is, which suffering do I want to choose? Do I want to choose to engage in something today that might be really uncomfortable for me, but will help me recover in the long term? Or do I want to choose to try to avoid the feelings that I'm experiencing, which will keep me in the wheel over the long term? And the thing that's going to really help you on this journey is to start to choose your long-term recovery over your short-term feelings and your short-term comfort. When you can start to prioritize your long-term recovery over your short-term comfort, that's going to start leading you to decisions that are going to encourage you to embrace fear when it comes up, to face it when you experience it, to move in the opposition of fear and to say, hey, I'm not going to let this fear control my life anymore. I'm not going to let it dictate anything that I do. Versus when you don't want to experience anxiety today, what you're going to do is engage in compulsions and safety behaviors that are going to keep the wheel spinning and actually going to keep the grip of fear over your life and limit your life. That's what I mean by choosing your suffering. Do you want to choose the suffering of long-term by avoiding feelings today? Or do you want to choose experiencing the uncomfortable feelings today for long-term freedom and recovery? And when you understand that that's the choice in front of you, my hope is for you that you start to see the value in saying, hey, I'm going to choose to be uncomfortable today. I'm willing to sacrifice today for many better tomorrows versus sacrificing tomorrow so I feel better today. And with our society right now, we live in the opposite of that. I mean, so many of us pursue the instant gratification, and this is everyone to some degree, right? Most people can't even wait to watch a show anymore. We just binge watch everything, right? And there's not even a delay in the idea of experiencing a show we want to watch, or if we want to Google something, we instantly have the answer, right? I mean, the idea of waiting and delaying gratification is becoming a foreign concept for most people because, we can order something and have it today or tomorrow, where there's no waiting. And what we got to understand is with OCD and anxiety recovery, there is a process of delayed gratification at hand where we have to decide that I'm going to be willing to be uncomfortable today. I always talk about, like, the best thing you can learn to do is become comfortable being uncomfortable. I'm going to experience this discomfort. I'm going to experience this emotional surge. And you know what? It's going to be painful. It is suffering. Going through the cave of facing your fear and allowing that anxiety to hit the surface is a form of suffering. And the craziest thing about recovery is that we're going to choose that path. It's so paradoxical, right? You would think that the correct option is to try to get rid of anxiety, but by moving into it through exposure, right? By moving into facing your fears head on, that is what allows you to heal. And for those of you that that aren't a part of TBC yet, or are interested in it, I mean, that's what we go through, right? We walk you through that process of making sure you're not engaging in behaviors that are continuing that loop going, or continuing that loop and really feeding it. And then as you break out of that loop, that's what really allows the healing process to take place, not only in your brain, but in your body, in the rewiring of neuroplasticity and kind of resetting of the nerve system. And that's possible, for you. And if you're on this journey, like, it's something that you can do, right? So that's really the main point I wanted to talk about today is just the idea of choosing your suffering and realizing that no matter what, there's going to be a form of pain and suffering on this journey, just like any other great hero's journey, right? One of the reasons that I use the hero's journey analogy with OCD and anxiety recovery is because what makes a journey worth telling is all the struggle that you experience on the journey. What's going to make your story amazing for someone else one day is all the struggle that you had. Because like, imagine if in Star Wars, let's just use that example for those of you that have seen it. If the story went like this, um, Luke Skywalker, he discovered the Force, and then he went up to the Death Star and beat Darth Vader and blew up the Death Star, right? And it was just like that easy for him, right? It was like nothing, or like you used Lord of the Rings as a good example, right? Oh, let's say Frodo gets this ring and he just walks over to the volcano and throws it in. There's no story to tell there, right? That's really the substance of it. But what makes the story amazing, what makes it a true hero's journey, is every struggle and every obstacle that the hero overcomes to accomplish the end goal. And that's the same thing with OCD and anxiety. What makes your story amazing for someone else and what's going to make it something that could potentially save someone else's life is the struggle that you went through today to get to where you wanted to go. That's the thing that you're going to be able to connect with someone in the future, because they're gonna see that struggle and watch you have navigated that and get inspired to navigate their own struggles. See, when you pursue instant gratification and pleasure and and just no pain today, that doesn't serve you tomorrow. By choosing the path of suffering today, by choosing to say, I'm going to face my fear today, that's what gets you to a better tomorrow. By entering the cave you least want to enter, that's how you get to the treasure that you seek. And that's why this is a true hero's journey, and why the choice is not whether or not to suffer. It's which suffering am I going to endure? Which suffering am I going to choose to go through? Which suffering is going to serve me over the long term? So I hope that helps. And I hope that kind of, just kind of stirs up some thoughts in your mind about what you can do today to take a step towards recovery on your journey. For those of you that are, interested in getting more help and more guidance and more assistance on this journey, we have our Taking Back Control program over at restoredminds.com. In fact, there's a little link down below where there's a free guide you can download to get started. It'll introduce you to the AAA response. And also, we have our live groups and communities to support you. So if this is something that you do struggle with, understand that you also don't need to go on the hero's journey alone. There's a reason that there's a guide in every hero's journey, is because this journey is never meant to be traveled alone. It's like having guidance, having support is part of the process. And if that's not something you have in your life, I'd really encourage you to reach out to us and to that's what we're here for. That's what we do all day is we help people navigate this journey. So thank you so much for hanging out today. I hope you guys have a wonderful Monday and a wonderful week. And I look forward to seeing you on our next episode, where we're going to continue this process here and dive into some more stuff. So thank you guys. And again, check out the links in the notes, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Take care.